Hey there, welcome to the garden. Today is one of those absolutely stunning kind of spring, but it feels like summer days. Beautiful, and I'm going to plant a few dwarf style zinnias. So I was going to share with you a little bit about these varieties, where I'm planting them. If you have even a container garden or a small garden in general, or a border that needs something that's going to grow fast, zinnias are amazing. Now the full-size zinnias get pretty tall. Those can get, several feet tall, but dwarf zinnias are going to stay nice and short, so they're perfect for adding all the zinnia kind of color and fun and everything to a container or, as I said, a border or something like that. And they're a nice plant to grow from seed if you are looking to kind of fill a large area more cost effectively. Some plants that you start from seed obviously take a while. You've got to get them started indoors, you've got to deal with seed starting, all of that. Direct sowing zinnias is so simple and easy, and they grow super quickly and flower. Now we're not late in the season by any means. We're just after Mother's Day here. So we're getting right into the prime of growing season. And what that means is the temperatures are starting to get really nice and warm. And this is what I find with zinnias, is that if you plant them in a nice warm time of year, they're gonna grow so quickly and get up and flowering really fast. I've even planted zinnias like in the beginning of July and had them flowering by like mid-August. So it happens super, super quickly, which is really nice. I'm trying to see if they have on here what the actual days to maturity is. I'm sure it's on one of these seed packets somewhere, but it's always really quick, which is wonderful. So let me share with you the two varieties that I'm going to be planting, and I'll talk you through where I'm planting them. I'm adding to all of my containers, and I've been doing a bunch of kind of adjustments with the containers this week. So that has been good. I've added in a few more annual flowers, and I thought I would just add some zinnias. So I'm going to set up this camera and show you what ones are planted. So first off, this is the area that I am planting the zinnias. I have this like little window box that I actually just set on the ground, and I refilled it with fresh potting soil. I actually planted one of my scavollas in here, and then one of these little, I don't even remember what the proper name for these are, like a little, excuse me, it'd be helpful if I showed you the plant. This is one of the little, it's like a little joey. The zinnias are going to grow more up rather than trailing out. So something like this scavola here is a perfect thing to plant with them, because it'll kind of spill over the corner and fill in that area. But this is plenty of room for a bunch of nice zinnias. Now I have two options of varieties that I can plant in here. So I have the Thumbelina mix, which has really cute little colorful zinnias. They get about 12 to 16 inches tall, so nice and short as far as the zinnia goes. Salmon, pumpkin, crimson, yellow, purple. It's a super sun-loving plant, so you do want to plant your zinnias in as much sun as you can. They're more full sun plant. For me, this garden, full sun is always a little tricky, but after frost, once it's nice and warm, it's perfect. And then I also have the button box mix, similar to this Thumbelina mix. I'm gonna see how tall these guys get. Up to 10 inches, so just a little bit shorter. And they have such beautiful, vibrant, fun colors. I'll put a picture up here for you. Warm weather, sun loving. I think I'm gonna see a pink, purple, red, yellow, orange, and white. I think I'm going to start with the button box because I like the idea of them being just a little bit shorter than the Thumbelina, but you certainly, you can hear right out, she's rolling around on her little play mat. That's her talking. Let me just check on her, and then I will get these planted. All right, so here we go. We're gonna plant them every couple inches. I'm sowing a little bit heavier just because I tend to have some pest pressure with like slugs and snails, and I've seen a little chipmunk running around the garden, so I want to make sure that we don't run into that. But I'm just going to do 2 rows, and then you just cover them up. They don't need to be buried super deep, just a little bit, like 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch of soil, and then I will water it. As I said, I went for the button box in this front area here because I just want to make sure that it stays nice and low. I don't want the zinnias to grow up too tall, and the Thumbelina mix is going to stay short too, but I'm just going to stick with the shorter the better, I think, because we tend to have you know, there's gonna be other things growing. That I do get full sun in this area, but it doesn't tend to be like the fullest full sun, and so sometimes plants tend to stretch a little bit when that happens, but hopefully they'll have enough space here where they'll kind of just grow nicely, and it won't be an issue at all. But it'll be really fun. I absolutely think zinnias are just like one of those plants that I cannot recommend enough, especially if you want to bring pollinators into your garden too. Of course, there's like the classics, you know, sunflowers, and that's probably like the biggest kind of like classic, like direct sow summer flower. Sunflowers and zinnias, they're the big ones, and the pollinators just really adore them. I definitely have found that after years and years of planting those kinds of flowers in the garden, it's bringing in the pollinators more and more every year. They're starting to learn that my garden is a space where they've got a lot of food, and those are the plants that they really like to land on. I actually find that the zinnias are really great for like those smaller pollinators, so like the little tiny bees and things, and it's always fun to see that they've, I don't know, they like land on the little tiny tips of the zinnias, and it's beautiful. I do have a few other zinnia varieties in the garden. So I've got some of full-size zinnias. I got some of the Cinderella Peach and the Queen Lime series zinnias scattered throughout. There's a few over here that I started indoors, and I transplanted them out, and they're doing okay. I did direct sow a few in this container, and look how much bigger they are. So this was definitely one of those like kind of experiments, direct sow versus start ahead of time. And I was trying to start them ahead of time to avoid pest pressure. So to help with, I don't know, you know, the slugs and the snails that are eating my seedlings. But I think that the ones that I direct sowed over there are both happier and maybe even bigger. So this is one of those ones where people say you should direct sow them. And I think this year my experiment is just showing that, yeah, you should definitely direct sow. It probably, now, will they catch up? I'm sure they will, but I probably would have been better off just to direct sow them and to not try to do the starting ahead. And honestly, knock on wood, I feel like I shouldn't even be saying this, but we've had pretty good year as far as the pests go. The slug and snail pressure hasn't been too bad. I've put down slug bait a couple times, and I will probably put slug bait down over top of the zinnias that I just sowed just in case. But honestly, it hasn't been too bad, which has been really nice. I did pull out a few more. I have a few more Cinderella Peach seeds, and I'm just gonna direct sow a couple more in some of the spaces. I did pop a couple more of my started zinnias over in this little line of them right here, and I think I'm gonna put, I think I have a couple more of these seeds. Yeah, I'm just gonna put a few more of the Cinderella Peach. This is the Cinderella Peach seed packet. I've got a few more of these, and I'm going to stick some right along the front of this row, and then maybe one or two over there with the start ahead ones, and we'll actually kind of be able to tell how that really goes. I actually won't be surprised if these seeds that we direct sow now maybe even catch up or overtake the ones that I started indoors. But I want to have a bunch to pick to have inside. They're a really great cut flower. So like the ones that are in this bed, I'll probably do a lot of picking of them because I do want to make sure that there's enough sunlight for the peppers and everything. So I'm just going to use them kind of as like my little cutting bed, knowing that I don't really need them out there for looks. I just want to be able to have a nice harvest of zinnias basically. So they're great in ground, they're great in containers. You can do whichever one you feel like. So I'm just gonna pop these in here and then put down, a little bit of my slug bait, water everything in. The garden is just looking so nice right now. I did that big cleanup, and now it's feeling so calm and beautiful. I love when I have the garden all swept and it just is in this kind of phase. And even though there's still some blank spots, like I feel like this bed is looking really empty, it's still nice. It's still nice to have it feeling just tidy, even if it's got some empty spots. We will fill those in. I always know that that is not a worry for me. I love planting, so I will find things to fill all of the gaps. I think I might pop a few zinnias over in this other pot that I've got over here in the frame of the Unheated Greenhouse, over this pot where I have this gomphrena, and there's a little space in there. I'm gonna put some new fresh potting soil and maybe put a couple zinnias in that container too. They're kind of a nice one to just, I don't know, throw in wherever. If you're like me and you like to just add things here and there, zinnias are a good one for that. So yeah, try it out. If you got an extra container, maybe get some of the dwarf ones. You can do the full-size varieties in containers, but you know, it's just not quite as ideal. So anyways, I'm just gonna get those planted now. So I decided to go ahead and put the Thumbelina mix in the container over there with the gomphrena, and then we can kind of see the difference between the Thumbelina mix and the button box mix. I like to try different varieties in different places and just kind of see, but those are both great for containers, so that will be perfect. I have grown the Thumbelina mix in the past and it was really pretty. It did stretch a bit taller, like it was definitely more toward the higher end of its height sizes in my garden, but I think over in this section that'll be perfect. It'll be beautiful and it'll bring some pollinators over into that space too, which will be lovely. So anyways, I'm going to continue to enjoy this lovely day. I hope you're getting out in your garden, having a fun day yourself, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.